Hello everyone and welcome to Bethesda Project's first ever Fireside Chat with the CEO. I'm Tina Pagato and I'm so honored to be with you today, taking time to learn about Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, ways to get involved this winter, how COVID-19 has impacted us at Bethesda Project, and hopefully we'll have time to answer additional questions that you're able to submit via the chat. We've already received some questions, and my trusty camera person and communications manager, Sarah, is behind the screen helping to read those questions and send them my way. So let's get started. I want to start by talking about Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. What is it? Why do we recognize it? And how can I get involved? So first, I want to just share that Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week is traditionally held the first week or the week immediately before Thanksgiving. So every year at that time, it's a national initiative to help spread awareness about the issues related to hunger and homelessness across our country, and to hopefully get people to commit to being part of the solution. I'm going to share some stats with you, which is part of raising awareness. 42 million Americans are at risk of suffering from hunger. 1 in 5 Philadelphians experience food insecurity. 549,000 Americans experience homelessness on a typical night in our country. And according to the 2021 point-in-time count, which is how numbers of homelessness are tracked across our country, here in Philadelphia, 4,302 individuals in Philadelphia experienced homelessness on the night in January when the count took place. Of that 4,300, 700 of those individuals were unsheltered, so on the streets or in places not meant for human habitation. This week is an opportunity to help raise awareness, and Bethesda Project historically has hosted a series of educational programs, community events, and fundraisers to really help raise awareness and get people involved in our community. 2014 was the first year that Bethesda Project got involved, and at that time there wasn't really a local push for raising awareness around hunger and homelessness awareness during this national week. So what we decided to do was host a series of events. Now over time, the ways that we've engaged the community and our supporters has evolved. We've had partnerships with retailers, so whether it's a clothing retailer or a restaurant, any kind of business along our corridor here or in the greater Philadelphia community could get involved. And typically what happens is they'll host a special item where a percentage of the proceeds can come back to Bethesda Project. Same with restaurants that have helped us throughout the past few years during this special week. We've also hosted some educational panels led by Bethesda Project experts, but also inviting other experts from peer organizations to join us to have a lively discussion about homelessness in our community, different approaches, and ways to get involved. We also hosted, this was very exciting, for 2 years we partnered with Keystone First to host a poverty simulation. One was in person, and then that was pre-pandemic, and then last year we hosted one virtually, which was a great way to raise awareness, get people to experience firsthand the effects of poverty. And I want to give a shout out to one of our original partners who started working with us back in 2014 and has been with us every year since. Schmear It Bagels. They have a truck that drives around town selling bagels. They have a schedule posted online. They also have a storefront store. They every year during the month of November give back a percentage of their proceeds to Bethesda Project and help raise awareness about who we are and what we do in the community. So thank you, Schmear It Bagels. And the past 2 years, I hope you've heard about our Portraits of Home campaign. This has been a great opportunity to get volunteer artists involved with Bethesda Project. And for $30, you can submit a photo of a home and have a artist create a rendition of your home. This has been a really fantastic initiative to partner with volunteers in new ways, but also these make great holiday gifts. And this year, for our second year, it's been really exciting to see people who last year received a portrait as a gift are now giving back to someone else in their life as a way to help raise awareness about Bethesda Project, the importance of home, and helping to really spread the word about who we are and ways to get involved. And I would be remiss if I didn't also tell you about an event we have coming up just this weekend. On Saturday, we are going to be starting at our Brothers Place shelter at 11 a.m. and then walking to the rail park for a tour of the rail park, and then finishing with participation in a time capsule that they're creating. And we will be also discussing issues of homelessness and hunger in our community. This is really the keystone event this year for our Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. So you can find out more information on our website. There's still room for you to participate, and we'll also be having a meal at the conclusion, so there's a great opportunity to get to know some fellow community members. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about COVID-19. I think we're all probably tired of thinking about it and talking about it, but there is a lot of interest about how it's impacted Bethesda Project and the people that we serve. I could probably talk about this for the next 3 hours, but for brevity, I have written down a couple of themes, and I'll talk us through those themes. And I want to start by just talking about what a major success it has been that we have remained fully operational since the start of the pandemic and have not had to cut staff, which is not something that a lot of nonprofits can say. And that's thanks to our supporters, our loyal funders, and the loyal dedication of our committed staff. So I do want to just pause to celebrate that a little bit, because that has not been the case for a lot of other organizations that were really hit hard by the pandemic. We're going to start by talking about the impact on our guests and residents, so the people that we're really here to serve. And I imagine, like the rest of the world, you've experienced having to wear a mask, social distancing, hygiene protocols, having to stay at home. And of course, that's really hard when you don't have a place to live. So the first thing that we did was really make sure that our sites were able to keep people safe. And that meant, in some cases, limiting the number of people that we were able to serve in our shelter settings. So that had an impact on our folks experiencing homelessness that were coming in for shelter. And it's also hard to imagine having to wear a mask in your own home. It's one thing to have to put it on to go out into the community or to go to work or to the store. But at Bethesda Project, because we have shared community spaces, our residents and guests have really had to adopt a new protocol, which is wearing their mask even in their own home unless they're in the privacy of their own room. So it's been a big adjustment for every community at Bethesda. We also had an increase on hygiene protocols. We've had to reduce the number of visitors coming into our sites and really putting restrictions in place. And sadly, one of the biggest parts of our mission, which is our volunteers and helping to create that sense of family, our in-person volunteer visits had to be suspended as well. We're now into the yellow phase of volunteering, which you can read about on our website as well. And we have welcomed volunteers back in some limited capacity, but having that lapse in regular volunteer engagement has really affected our sites in not such positive ways. We miss our volunteers. Talking about our staff, it's been a whirlwind of adapting to new protocols for safety, whether it was securing PPE and making sure everyone had access to it, putting up plexiglass barriers for an added layer of safety. Our staff very quickly adapted, and while we were able to implement a 1-day-a-week remote option for our leadership staff, That's only about 40 people out of our 130. And what that meant is that for the remainder of our staff, it was continuing to come in every single day to ensure that those services were provided. And what we're seeing now is really the effects of that. Those staff have not been able to take a break, and it's been a long run. So we're seeing those effects and working to try and put supports in place to really promote well-being, mental health, and behavioral health supports. One of the most positive aspects of the pandemic is we realized that we were much more adaptable and flexible than we realized. And we were able to innovate very quickly and put some new things into place. So first it was the shift to the virtual realm. This was not unique to Bethesda, but we never considered ourselves to be a particularly tech-savvy organization and had to very quickly learn how to use Teams and Zoom and did it well. So we shifted to virtual platforms for our meetings, for special events and fundraising that we were doing, for trainings that we offered our staff, and also for volunteering. We had a complete curriculum online for volunteers and were able to still keep people engaged despite the pandemic. In addition, we added 2 new programs, which was kind of amazing considering all of the many challenges we were facing on a day-to-day basis, adapting to the pandemic and our protocols. We took an opportunity to bring online 2 new programs in partnership with the city's Office of Homeless Services. One was our COVID prevention site, which shelters 44 individuals that are vulnerable to COVID-19 and over the age of 60. And the other was a new church shelter program that was seasonal for the winter season at the Church of Holy Trinity in Rittenhouse Square. That makes our 5th church shelter program that was with us seasonally, and we're looking forward to hosting at that church one more time this winter, and we're really thrilled to be able to continue to grow and thrive despite all of the challenges that the world is facing. We still have some challenges ahead, so I don't mean to paint a rosy picture. The pandemic has been hard in lots of ways, particularly that there's no finite end in sight. Nobody knows when the end will be here, and people are tired. So just staying the course, I think, is going to be an ongoing challenge for us. We have the protocols and procedures in place to keep folks safe, but getting them to commit to continuing to do so is really our challenge. The number of people in need will likely be on the rise as we come out the other side of the pandemic, and worrying about having enough resources and supports for increased number of people on the streets is certainly a challenging concern. We, like the rest of the country and our local community, have had some challenges in filling open positions. So if you know people looking for work, please check out positions on our website. We would love to grow our team with qualified candidates, and we're always looking for people caring about this mission to come and join our staff team. And we do worry about shifting priorities with funders. Coming out of the pandemic, a lot of new problems and challenges have emerged for lots of different groups, lots of different nonprofits, and that means that funders may be pivoting where their interests lie. So working to ensure that we're keeping current with what funding priorities our funders have and seeing if we're a fit, and also looking for new funders in the process. So that will continue to be something that we keep an eye on moving into the future. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to move into ways that you can get involved and support us this winter. So I have some visuals to keep everyone interested. And soon we will be sending out and posting on our social media this great handout of how to help. And it includes a lot of resources unique to the winter season. And the first most important thing that I think everyone should do is write in their address book. Actually, that sounds really antiquated. No one has a Rolodex anymore. Pull out your cell phone and add in there the city's outreach hotline number. It's 215-232-1984. And I believe Sarah's going to put that in the chat for everyone to reference. That is the number that you can call if you see someone on the street struggling. Maybe it's someone that you don't feel comfortable approaching, or you don't have time to stop and engage. This is the number for the city's outreach hotline. You'll tell them where you are, what you're observing. Maybe it's someone who's not appropriately dressed for the winter season, someone who might be having a mental health crisis, someone who's asleep on the sidewalk, and the weather is cold, they're at risk of death and dying on the street. You can call that number and an outreach team will come and engage the person and hopefully connect them to resources that are available for them. Also on this How to Help guide, you'll find information about what a code blue is. That's a certain point in time where the temperature drops below 20 degrees with the wind chill factor, or 32 degrees with precipitation. When code blue happens, there's additional resources that come into play in the city. You can learn more about that. And then also ways to recognize signs of hypothermia if you encounter someone because of the cold weather and what to do, as well as supplies that are needed typically during the winter season. So at Bethesda Project, the most needed supplies this time of year are really related to warm items. So things like gloves, hats, winter coats, thermal items, sweatshirts. Those types of items go very quickly as people are coming in, they're in need, and we never have enough. So please consider donating those items to Bethesda Project or another local nonprofit if you're not local to Bethesda. And sorry, I'm checking my notes to make sure I've covered everything. The last thing that a lot of people don't think about is public transportation. So one of the other ways you can support during the winter season is helping to purchase SEPTA individual key cards. Those are really useful for us to distribute to people who have appointments out in the community and they're not able to walk there, or it's not safe for them to walk there. You can purchase those in bulk and donate them to Bethesda. And when someone has an appointment, we can help them with transportation in a way that promotes their independence but still keeps them safe and warm. Okay, we are doing great in terms of things that we have to handle. And I think now would be a great time for me to share a special announcement that's related to Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, but also Giving Tuesday. So Giving Tuesday is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's November 30th this year. And it's a day to really spark charitable giving as we enter into the holiday season. So this year, what we are trying is a new initiative called Giving Tuesday Bingo. For those of you who do not know this, bingo is hands down the most popular activity across Bethesda Project. All of our guests and residents love participating. Everyone's a winner. We get prizes. Volunteers can come and participate. And it is always a highlight at Bethesda Project sites. So we are now trying something with our volunteers, which is Giving Tuesday Bingo. And I'm going to show you a sneak peek of the bingo card. And Sarah is going to include in the chat a link to this bingo card as well as instructions on how it'll work. But it's a great way to inspire you to give back to the community. So all you have to do is complete all of the items in one row, and then you'll send proof that you've done so. There'll be instructions on how to do that. And it's launching today and will be active through December 1st. Now, if you complete a row and submit proof that you've completed a row, you'll be entered for a chance to win this amazing Bethesda swag basket valued at over $130. And it's got a great picnic blanket, some mugs that are insulated. There's a crew neck sweatshirt, one of the Bethesda tote bags, a Bethesda Project hat. And all of this could be yours if you complete your bingo card. So I just want to read to you some of the examples, and I need my glasses for this, of the types of things that you'd be inspired to do during the Giving Tuesday event. So it could be as simple as email 5 people asking them to make a donation today. Post a picture of you wearing a Bethesda Project t-shirt and tag Bethesda Project. Activate Amazon Smile to support Bethesda on your future Amazon purchases. Start a giving campaign at your company, school, or church to support Bethesda. So it runs the gamut of things that any person can do to really help raise awareness about hunger, homelessness, and Bethesda Project. And we hope that you'll join us in playing for a chance to win this amazing swag bag, but also for an opportunity to really help raise awareness in our community. Okay, so Sarah, I think that covers all 3 of the main topic areas that we were going to talk about today, and it leaves us some time for Q&A. What is the first question that came in?
The first question that came in is, what makes Bethesda Project special and different from other homeless service organizations?
That's a great question, and one that I actually get asked quite a bit when I do speaking engagements or meet someone new to talk about Bethesda. I guess the first thing I think would be our family mission. And the way that I generally talk about it is what makes us unique is we are an organization that really does what we say we do. And I know that shouldn't seem special, but it really is. We are an organization with a mission of being family, and we're really good at that aspect. We engage people in the community to be part of what it is that we do. We invite volunteers in to be part of that process. We treat each guest and resident as an individual and respect their own dignity and self-worth. And all of those things really help create a special culture that has a unique Bethesda Project feel that's unlike other organizations. We also use the core values of social work as our core values that really help guide decision making of staff so that across each of our different programs, people have a similar experience that uniquely feels like Bethesda Project's way of finding and caring for people. I guess the other thing that really sets us apart, specifically in Philadelphia, is the focus population that we work with. We work with single adults experiencing chronic homelessness. That's a very unique subpopulation, and it's people who have been on the streets for long periods of time, but also have accompanying disabilities. So that could be a mental health diagnosis or a substance abuse diagnosis or a medical condition related to immunodeficiency. But we really do look for people that have a combination of all of those things, which make them most vulnerable to die on the streets if they're not brought into our services as soon as possible. So those things really contribute to sort of our unique factor. And we were founded by volunteers. We have faith-based roots, and that commitment to including volunteers in our mission still remains true today. And even though during the pandemic we've had to adjust and have more virtual options, the importance of those volunteers in our DNA still remains the same. Other questions, Sarah?
We had another question that came in earlier about, as the pandemic is still continuing, what are some ways that I can get involved in the mission?
Okay, so getting involved during the pandemic. I would say this is my job. I'm the chief fundraiser for this organization. We need money. So you can support us financially at any level, and that is always welcomed. But there are lots of ways to get involved beyond supporting us financially. I think one of the best things people can do is really be an ambassador for our organization, introduce us to new people that maybe didn't know about us beforehand. You can share things that we post on social media with your networks. You can invite people to be part of events that we host, or initiatives like our Giving Tuesday Bingo. There's also opportunities. We've got a great array of virtual opportunities for volunteers right now and other supporters that really vary. So it could be something like preparing a meal, or purchasing a meal for one of our sites. Maybe you want to do that with a group of friends or family that you have, sponsoring one of our sites at the holidays to help ensure that our residents and guests each get a unique gift for them valued at $25. That's all coordinated through our community life office and our volunteer and community engagement manager. You could participate in a virtual fundraiser on our behalf. So we just finished our 5K. That was a great opportunity to sign up and help fundraise with your network and be involved. And also hosting different kinds of in-kind drives. So I've heard stories of people, actually we just had a great story of it was someone, I think she was turning 9, and instead of birthday presents, she asked people to make donations to Bethesda Project in her honor, which is just an amazing concept that someone at 9 years of age is looking to give back to people in need. We also have a group of adults. For years, they host a sock hop. And it's a party that they have, and everyone who comes to the sock hop brings a pack of brand new unopened socks, and they all get donated to Bethesda Project in honor of the party host. So there's lots of different ways that you can creatively get involved, even though we're still in a pandemic and it's harder to get involved in person. Please check out our website. In our volunteer section, there's a great list of varieties that you can read about and find one that really works for you.
We have a question from one of our chat participants. Do you have a favorite moment or story in your leadership of Bethesda Project that inspires you to further this work?
Oh gosh.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. Let's see. A great story in my leadership that inspires me. So if I had more time, this might not be the one I come up with, but I am routinely inspired by, and this is going to sound a little strange, so when a guest or resident at Bethesda Project passes away, our tradition is to have a memorial service, and we gather as a community, and we provide an opportunity to share stories about the impact that that person had on the community, and really to provide a space for people to grieve and celebrate that person's life. And what's really beautiful about it is that the guests and residents come to recognize that when it's their turn to pass away, that same tradition will happen to honor them. So everyone takes it very seriously, and people are very participatory. And I am routinely returning to the well to get inspired when I attend a Bethesda Project memorial, because you will hear stories about the relationships that were formed that the staff sometimes didn't even know about. And one particular story really struck me. It was a resident at our Bainbridge permanent supportive housing site. And it was a person who wasn't very well liked. He was a source of lots of conflict in the community. And we weren't sure if people would come and participate. But the room was full. And when it came time to share stories, we started hearing stories that were absolutely new to us and one gentleman who rarely shares. He's a very reserved individual and has active mental health symptoms. He stood up and he said, yeah, I didn't really think of him as a friend, but one day he was making a cup of coffee and he asked if I wanted a cup of coffee, and I told him I did. And he brought it over to me, and he had put in 2 creamers and 3 sugars, which is just the way I like it. And it was very moving because this resident was surprised to realize that someone had known how he likes his coffee. And he said that that really affected him, and he's gonna miss that guy. He said, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but I'm gonna miss seeing him around here. And to think about our mission of being family and how it's built on relationship building. It was a real testimony to how that community is formed, how relationships can be transformative, and even when it doesn't seem obvious, we're impacting one another in little positive ways that really do make us a family. So that's my story.
We've been seeing choose compassion on the website and social media a lot. What does that concept of choosing compassion mean to you?
Choosing compassion. I think that we all have choices to make when we encounter difficult situations. And I recently read something which I believe was probably on our social media. There is sympathy, there is empathy, and then there's compassion. So you can have sympathy for a situation that someone's in and feel bad and really wish they had something better. You can have empathy where, you know, I can really understand how you're feeling and I want to be with you in your moment. But then there's compassion, and compassion leads us to action. So with compassion, you can sympathize and empathize with someone, but you also have compassion and want to give of yourself to help them change the situation that they're in. So at Bethesda, we're asking people to choose compassion. Choose compassion when you're approaching someone in need, and find ways that you can really help and turn their situation around and make a positive influence in their life. Other questions?
Probably have time for one more.
One more question.
What is one? What is? Let me just make sure I'm reading this. What is one thing that you think or you look forward to in the future for Bethesda Project?
One thing I look forward to for Bethesda Project's future. So I do wish I had a crystal ball and could predict where Bethesda's heading. But something that I'm looking forward to, and this may not sound exciting to most people, but we just started our new strategic planning process. And we are just finishing in 2022 the current strategic plan, which was 2018 to 2022. And as part of that process in working through a strategic plan is a reflect and a look back each year to really see what you've accomplished and refine it for moving forward. And at the end of this past fiscal year, we did a look back on how we've been doing with our implementation plan on the current strategic plan. And we're really impressed with all that we have achieved, all of the many moving parts that together helped us move from point A, not to just point B, but I think we're probably at point D in the course of those 5 years. And I was very inspired by that because a year and a half of that was spent in a pandemic where we really had to shift gears. So I think what I'm most looking forward to is going through the new strategic planning process with the board and with our staff and with community members and input from our guests and residents to really refine the direction that we're headed, to make sure that we remain mission focused and that we can begin to really strengthen our core, build upon what we have put so much work into and developed to really strengthen who we are as an organization. So I'm excited about that process and to see the end result of the new strategic plan. Okay, so Sarah's telling me we are at time. I want to thank everyone for joining us and participating, for your thoughtful questions. And I'm going to thank you in advance for participating in our Giving Tuesday Bingo. And we look forward to seeing you at other upcoming events. And thank you for doing your part in choosing compassion at Bethesda Project.